The other word that I learned when looking at some of your work is gynandromorphophilia.
Mm.
One of the longest words I think I've ever said in my life. What's gynandromorphophilia?
Gynandromorphophilia. So I'm going to say a word that I think is fine, but some people are touchy about it. Gynandromorphophilia is sexual attraction to she-males. What I mean by a she-male is a natal male trans woman who has both breasts and a penis still. I assume
see it. I can see it in my mind's eye. Yep.
Well, it's not hard to find it online. That is a kind of pornography I have come across, and it actually is quite a common form of pornography. And even I think just plain old normal straight men get into that sometimes. But they're different than the kind of men who need that and prefer it. And for example, I had a girlfriend at one time whose ex-husband had that preference, and in order for them to have sex, they needed to bring a picture of a she-male on the computer screen so he could look at it and become aroused. That became a problem for her.
I can imagine
yeah.
that would create complications. Yes.
Yeah, but that's some other just plain old. I think mostly just plain old straight men. They just, I think, don't have the hang up about the penis being there too.
This is what, back in the 90s, on Alan Partridge, which is a famous British comedy show, one of his friends, it turns out, was going to Thailand, and he comes back and all he wants to hear about is the ladyboys.
Right.
All he wants to hear about is ladyboys. Tell me about the ladyboys, he keeps on saying.
Yeah, that's right. The ladyboys, that's what they are. Yeah.
They still tour as Ladyboys of Bangkok in the UK. I don't know if that's the same in the US, but there's posters everywhere for Ladyboys of Bangkok.
To my knowledge, they don't come here, but there are she-male escorts that you can find online. I knew in writing my book, the 2003 book called The Man Who Would Be Queen, I actually at that time knew some transsexual prostitutes, some of whom had worked as she-male prostitutes, and then they got surgery and continued to work as female prostitutes.
Opening up to as many markets as possible.
Yeah. Well, the one that I'm thinking of preferred the men who liked women to the men who liked she-males. I think she thought that the ones who liked she-males, I don't know, that they treated her differently as a
very interesting. So
yeah.
this is an obvious follow-up, which is this a new category of sexual orientation? Are these people closer to gay people or are they closer to straight people?
Great question. And so I can answer the second part of that question. They are very close to straight people. They're not at all gay. guys who get into she-males. So if we bring these guys in the lab and we show them pornography featuring just women, and the kind that we use in this situation is two women having sex with each other, female porn, and male porn. Those are the best kind of stimuli, because if somebody gets aroused, there's no ambiguity about who they're getting aroused by. Guys who are into she-males get aroused to the females, but not the males. But they get slightly more aroused to videos of two she-males getting it on. And that's a little different than typical straight men who get more aroused by two females than two she-males. But neither gynandromorphophiles nor regular straight men get aroused to two men getting it on.
Right. Next obvious follow-up question to that is, I've heard you say that heterosexual women are genitally indifferent. What does that mean?
I would say not just genitally indifferent. I think that their conscious feelings are indifferent in the laboratory to erotica. So if we bring women into the lab and we show them the same kinds of stimuli, two men having sex, two women having sex, straight women show an indifferent pattern of genital arousal. They get equally aroused by both, and they say they get equally aroused by both. Now, they don't get that aroused psychologically. Straight women do not get as aroused to watching either kinds of erotic stimuli that I just mentioned as either straight men do or gay men do. But it is interesting that they seem to show this flat pattern. Lesbians, in contrast, do show both a genital preference and a subjective preference for female stimuli.
Is there a vestigial arousal among lesbians for men?
Lesbians do get more aroused by male stimuli than they do to nature scenes.
But what about, do they get more aroused to gay men than gay men do to lesbians?
These questions are hard to answer.
These are the studies that we need, Michael. These are the hard-charging questions that we need.
Well, they're hard to answer because the kinds of apparatus that you must use to measure genital arousal in men differs from that you must use to measure it in women. And the best evidence that we have, we've taken it out of the genitals into the brain. We've done fMRI scanning of people looking at erotic stimuli. And it pretty much shows the same patterns as the genital stuff does. And your excellent question, I think I'm going to have to hold off answering because I don't remember.
What's happening, people? If you enjoyed that, then press here for the full, unedited episode. And don't forget to subscribe. Peace.